Hey, Brett. Can't hear you yet. You usually have to activate the audio.
There, I got it now. I'm
Sweet.
actually on time this time. How you doing, brother?
I'm pretty good. Coming off of a little bit of a sickness. Not the C, of course. But
Yeah,
yeah. How are you
that's good,
doing?
man. How's everything going in your area?
Suspiciously quiet. Yeah. It's not as crazy as a lot of other places I hear about.
Yeah. No, it's definitely different times for everybody right now, right? So
Yeah, there's
it's
some sort of gradient of like how much pressure is being applied per location, I think,
yeah,
depending on the mass consciousness of the people in that location.
yeah, and a lot of people are locked into just the like lower state of consciousness right now, right? So I'm glad to connect to somebody else that's self-aware. I mean, I appreciate your posts on Facebook. And I know you also appreciate self-sustaining individuality, and I'm kind of more so in that mode too. Almost thinking about selling my property and just getting a plot of land, maybe
Yeah.
going off grid, right? So a lot of people lose touch with their natural abilities. They just get caught in the cycle, and then it's almost like, yeah, I can definitely see society going in two different directions right now. So
Bifurcation, right?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's this is a very interesting time. I don't know if I've never been any type of fear mongering person, and I probably never will, even if shit's blowing up outside. But this
Yeah,
the level of sort of pressure that's being exerted now, I haven't seen it in the realm as of yet.
yeah. Well, a lot of people too, they think that time's linear, but there's that old saying, history repeats itself. So time's really cyclical. But I think
Mm.
there's an opportunity, instead of spiraling down, there's an opportunity to get out of that cycle and create something new with other conscious-minded individuals. You know what I mean? But it's all about keeping that vibration up. And I find a lot of people are just very self-serving, like primitive in what their value systems are. It's almost like, who do you trust nowadays? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think mostly what's happening is veils are slipping.
Yeah,
Veils have been in place probably since the inception of this place, and it's slipping now. So whoever has been playing games, as far as the control structure is concerned, they're not able to be as secretive or covert as they have been in the past.
yeah,
I just wanted to say before we really get going, to everyone who's watching this, the format is basically around 45 minutes per half. There's a public segment first, and then there's a patrons only segment, which you can access by going to patreon.com/snail show if you're interested in getting that. Otherwise, yeah, about 45 minutes per segment. I know we talked a little bit about discussing the 1871 thing. I think we'll leave that for the second half. But for now, maybe you can discuss a little bit how it's going. You're in Canada, right?
yeah. I'm on Vancouver Island, so I live right in the middle of it, British Columbia, and I mean, I live in a retirement community, so it's just like a lot of people that have trouble coming out of their programming that they learned maybe as a child. A lot of people like to identify with their job situation. Oh, I was a carpenter for 47 years. Oh, I was a boiler maker, and that's their whole life, their whole
Yeah,
life goal. And
yeah,
then a lot of people have a hard time breaking out of that. And right now, I've seen a lot of retired people, like even in my industry, coming in. One customer in particular, he's like, kept pushing off his retirement. He's like, no, I'm going to wait. And now all of a sudden, all of his friends are dropping like flies, and they're all his age or whatever, right? So it's like, okay, if you're planning to retire and you really haven't taken the time to actually live in between, I mean, I think that's the greatest disservice a person can do to humanity is just not actually live while you're alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one too. Initially, when you're initially starting to realize literally anything that's going on here, is you see that the system wants you looking at the carrot, right? And that carrot takes a variety of forms, but the main purpose, as far as I can see, is to keep you out of your core, out of your 0 point, right? Because then you're making movements, you're making motions, you're making dollars, you're moving things around, you're acting as gears for the machine, right?
Yeah.
And you don't retain your energy when you do that. It is possible to go get work and sort of do the thing that you need to do, but you have to learn how to stay present while you're doing all that and conserve energy.
Oh, 100%. It's like you got to create a closed conduit system for your own, and create your own energy field. I find a lot of people parasite off other people's energy. They try to get them involved in low-level drama situations. It's all about transference. You know what I mean? They try to transfer their problems onto you. So if you can actually take the time to be conscious and self-aware, you can break yourself completely out of that cycle, right? Sorry, I got the dog walking around here in the background. I don't know if you can hear her nails clicking on the ground. But...
Do you have hardwood?
Yeah. It's hardwood floors or whatever, but yeah, she's a character.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how you were talking about people getting enmeshed and like stuck in with their identity that's, given by society. I never really had that. Like, I was growing up, going through school, trying to always figure out, like, what the hell do I do with myself? Because none of it really seemed that appealing. I already had, like, a bad taste in my mouth just looking at it from youth.
Yeah.
And so I was always bouncing around, doing this odd job, that odd job. And eventually, like, now I'm 36, and I finally got, like, a regular job that actually pays decent doing hardwood floors. And so I did it like backwards. I have the thing that I could identify with now, but I already established my spiritual core before that. So now it's just like, oh, it's nice. I can actually make some decent money. I can actually practice a craft that takes skill. It takes effort. It takes lots of concentration to make sure you're doing it right. But it's not like grabbing me. It's not like, oh, now I must do this for forever and this is my sole identity.
Yeah. And I always had the funnest, like in school. I spent probably 60% of my time not showing up to school and skipping out. I'm surprised I even graduated because I spent so much time just, I was lucky enough to grow up in an area where there was like lots of trees, lots of nature. I had a good core group of friends. I had so much fun as a kid. I mean, I experimented with mushrooms, LSD, hallucinogenics. So it was like, even at an early age, I broke myself completely out of that mind frame, and really changed my perspective as far as like how I view the world, how I view things, how I view my own innate abilities. It unlocked a lot of different neuroconnectors. My reality is like completely different. I kind of broke out of the cycle early. I mean, I had my first job at 12. I was a dishwasher. I'd go from after school, 3:30, I'd go down there, and then I'd be washing dishes till like 10:30 at night or whatever, right? So I had a lot of responsibility early on, but...
Was that out of necessity, or was that just because you wanted to make some money?
Well, it was out of necessity. I mean, my parents were like middle class. I didn't come from a big rich family. I mean, I grew up on an acreage. But to have any extra spending money, I always had to be self-sufficient. I also took the other thing. I mean, everybody used to smoke weed back in the day, and I used to make extra money on the side selling weed and stuff like that at an early age too, right? That was always a good supplementary income. But I find being adaptable and well-rounded has always been key in my life. You know what I mean? It's like jack of all trades and master of a few.
Right. Yeah, master of a few.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you see this current situation playing out? Maybe you can give what you think could be the worst case scenario, what you think could be the best case scenario, and how you think it might actually go.
I think worst case scenario is being marching into the transhumanism agenda. A lot of people haven't really researched that, but that's like, that's a possibility in a timeline.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at like Albert Pike, when he talked about, even in the late 1800s, he was talking about the three world wars and how the third one was going to be a war on basically the human consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like more of a covert operation. So a lot of people are marching into that with smartphones. There's smart dust. I mean, I know a lot of people want to talk about chemtrails as a conspiracy, but it's no conspiracy. That they're actually spraying different chemicals in the air, geoengineering. So I think the worst case scenario would be to be caught on those players' farm, because it's like, what's the difference between an organic chicken or a free-range chicken and a chicken that's been raised in a coop? I mean, either way, they wind up on the farmer's table. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Free-range chicken thinks that it's running around and it's free. And all of a sudden, the farmer comes and takes it and still puts it on his plate, and it's still food for that farmer.
Right.
And I think the worst case scenario would be people go more into a robotic existence, because all of us are like shortwave radios. Not only can we emit transmissions, but we receive transmissions. I know that there's a frequency war going on right now with geoengineering, and a lot of people are being hit with that, with 5G, cell towers, all this electronic smog and interference.
Yep.
A lot of people are caught in the blockchain or the gridlock. So basically, they're stuck in their cities, and there's not enough nature. Like maybe there's a couple of parks or something like that in these giant cities, but there's not enough natural habitat in order to ground yourself. I mean, being out in nature is so important for me. It's like every
Yeah.
single day I go for a walk, I go for a hike, especially after work. The first thing I do when I leave work is I'll take some time for myself, and I go defrag because I
Yeah.
have to defrag from everybody else's energy that I've been around, because I'm so sensitive to it,
Yeah.
and
Right.
I'm highly self-aware. So I think the best case scenario would be if other strong-minded, like-minded individuals collectively unify and put their efforts together. You can break out of that cycle and create an alternate timeline. I mean, who wants to be somebody else's slave or servant? You know? And
Some
you're
people
well
do.
aware, like, yeah.
Some people do.
Yeah.
Not everybody. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that's the breakaway civilization thing is interesting. I do know that I'm well aware that when you try to get together in groups of sort of sovereign minds, then it's already known, and it will try to be infiltrated and so on and so forth. And sometimes we sabotage ourselves from within pretty easily.
Yeah.
I've done a few groups just to see what would happen, and for the most part, people, they don't have like the. You have to have a really like rock steady core in order
Yeah.
to actually operate as a group that is operating as a decentralized authority group. That's very necessary. Like it
Yeah.
can't be someone is aware and awake and they're like, okay, I'm gonna go build a guru farm over here and I need a bunch of disciples and we're gonna like break
Yeah.
away from the society. Like that model has already been tried so many times, and it
Yeah.
always ends up, people might benefit from it for a little while, but it always ends up breaking apart, and
Yeah.
it doesn't work that well. It's almost like you have to, if there's going to be any group effort, everyone has to be doing their self work
Yeah.
constantly, like all the time, and then you collaborate with each other, just like what we're doing here, right? You collaborate, you share ideas, bounce ideas off of each other, and also share strength. Like we're not just collaborating, we're sharing the strength of being in control of yourself and not simply being a node for the hive, right?
Yeah. And that's just it. Like breaking out of that hive is the hardest thing too. Like retaining your individuality. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know. I mean, where do you see things going here in the next 5 years?
I feel like the timelines are just like doing this. Like everything's just
Yeah,
getting shaken
yeah,
up. The masses are, they're noticing something. Some of them are,
yeah,
not all of them, but the level of sort of brainwashing and entrainment, like mental entrainment, is so ingrained and so deep for almost everybody that it's almost like they are, for the most part, still in this bubble, this shock bubble that, they've basically fragmented themselves off and built a bunch of altars to hide inside of because the thing has been so traumatic.
yeah,
And you almost have to come at those people with like pure love and no manipulation whatsoever in order for them to even have like a tiny little chance of being able to see outside the edges of the entrainment, because it's that powerful.
yeah.
And I don't
And
know.
it,
Sorry.
oh, sorry. You go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Carry on.
Yeah, I don't know if that's our role necessarily, because we've all heard the stories of, oh, I try to wake people up, and I'm sure you've done the same thing in your life, and you kind of see they have built-in defense mechanisms, and there's not a conscious being necessarily doing those maneuvers. It's the hive. It's just a reactionary sort of defensive posture,
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's necessary. The way I see it going is that I think it is going to hit some critical tempo, some critical juncture at some point, because it's like the thing has been sped up right now.
yeah,
All these machinations have been in the works for hundreds of years, but for some reason the demon creatures have decided, or realized that they don't have time. Like they need to get, if they're gonna try to enslave everybody, they need to just do it as fast as possible and then hope that it works out.
yeah,
So I don't necessarily feel that everyone's going to be going into FEMA camps and just mass chaos. I feel like they're trying to speed it up, and those of us who are conscious are acting as anchors to sort of help it not just go toward the worst possible scenario as
yeah.
fast as possible.
And I used to, on the internet, I used to, like, I'd research everything. Like, when I first got the internet, like, literally, I researched every single topic out there, and I'd spend, like, hours and hours and hours on end. And it's amazing how much information has been censored off the internet since I first started. It's like
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I used to come across, stuff that I used to share even on my original YouTube channel. You can't even get that information anymore, and that was just a few years ago.
Yep.
Like a lot of the good core stuff that people should be learning. I mean, what happens if all of a sudden a lot of natural disasters start occurring, and then all of a sudden you get your food chain and your supply cut off? I mean, where are most people going to be if they're stuck in a city?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's most of this stuff is engineered. It's not, most of it's not like, oh, a hurricane came and now everybody's screwed and we gotta like figure out how to survive because our town is being blown apart. It's not like, most of it I feel like is engineered. We're in a highly artificial place,
Yeah,
and the push has always been to build this giant. It's almost, it is. It's just like a farm system. Like if you imagine the masses are the cattle, they're breeding them essentially, right? How many people did we have a couple hundred years ago? Like it wasn't 7 billion. That's
yeah,
not, you can't look at that and say that that's in any way natural, and that from the people's perspective. They're not sitting there thinking, oh, let's try and mass replicate ourselves, and it's not that, it's something else. So it feels like they're trying to multiply their stock, and then when it's at like ripe for the plucking time, then this sort of stuff happens where they destabilize the entire thing and it sends into mass chaos. And when I say harvesting or farm, it's energetic harvesting. It's not like people are
yeah.
getting chopped up and eaten, although that probably
Well,
has happened.
there's also that behind the scenes too, I'm sure,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
that's for a whole other show, I'm sure.
It's there's a lot of dark shit that goes on, but it feels like the supply chain going down is the natural way to destabilize the whole region.
Yeah.
And for those of us that are somewhat aware, at least, we know that not being reactive is literally that's the way you retain your energy, is not being reactive, because you're presented with tons of cues, right? If you run
Yeah.
out of food, that's a cue. If you don't have any food, you have to react to that somehow. And half of the
Yeah.
people are going to react by going and trying to steal from their neighbor. And
Yeah.
then, the other half will say, well, we've prepared a little bit, right? And hopefully people are preparing a little bit now, because it feels like it's getting close to that time, right? To where
Yeah.
supply chains might go down. So
Oh,
preparing
totally.
preparing a little bit is good, but I think
And even with this whole COVID situation, it's amazing because everybody has their different viewpoints on the vaccine. I mean, as far as me, I mean, as far as COVID goes, I don't believe in it. It's
no.
it's all of a sudden COVID cases come up, and then all of a sudden, nobody has the flu anymore, but you got COVID. It's like you stub your toe, you go to the doctor, you've been diagnosed with COVID or whatever, right? And now they're talking about the universal basic income. So they're actually like they were talking about that a few years ago, but even in my area, it's like 20 years ago, you used to be able to buy a house around here for $100,000.
Yeah.
So it's like $100,000. I think I bought my house for $78,000. This same house now that I'm living in, even though it's not the nicest, I mean, it's the middle class area, whatever. This house has got to be worth about $700,000, and that was just within a short period of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like everything's increased. Everything's like $1 million property around here. If you want to like get into a nice house, it's like 7, 8, 9, $1 million or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So where are these people? I don't understand how these people are like getting their mortgages and stuff like that, because I mean, you got to think about what the average person works. Not everybody has a high level position or a high level job. It's like most people are like middle class, and I just don't know where all this money is coming from. It's like the bank.
Probably the majority of those people did something similar to you, where they bought it at under 100,000, and most young people nowadays can't buy houses. That's just a fact. They can't afford it. So therefore, anyone that's in the house is somebody that purchased it in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, where it was still feasible, right?
And then it's that same generation that tells you like, I worked for it, and yeah, they did work for it, but it's like even 20, 30 years ago, you could still get a $30 an hour job. Your expenses, you could go down and you could get a 4 liter of milk for $1, and you could get a loaf of bread for 50 cents. And it's like now that 4 liter jug of milk is like $7. That loaf of bread is $5. It's like I go to the grocery store, I gotta get a few nights dinner, and it's like $200.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
very it's just like
it's very expensive. Yeah, and it's of course by design. When I would talk to Aurora about it, we would talk about the financial system being a system of musical chairs, where it's intentionally set up with high interest rates, so you're constantly having inflation, and eventually the buying power of your money goes down, and eventually it segregates everybody into the super wealthy elite and the super poor. And it's like that's the cycles. Once it gets too far apart, then the nasty people at the top or whatever say, okay, it's time for harvest. So they get in there with fucking with supply chain or with HARP or with weather manipulation. They get in there with all of it. Like it's a comprehensive sort of plan that manages the destabilization.
Yeah. And it's every society, I mean, only goes on. You look back at the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, even going back to Egypt or Atlantis or whatever, the Mayans. You know what I mean? Every civilization eventually reaches its critical mass point where it's no longer sustainable, and then it seems to collapse in on itself. And, in all honesty, I can't see the system going on like this for too much longer. I mean, maybe 5 years, you know what I mean? Because it's like, even for the banking system, you got $1 million. It's not like they got $1 million section in their vault that it's got your $1 million cash sitting in there. It's all just an imaginary number on a screen. So it's like, it's all an illusion. So they take that imaginary number on the computer screen, and then they charge you interest for something that's not really there. I mean, how many people deal with cash nowadays? I mean, unless you're like a drug dealer, or you're like in some sort of like line of work that you make a lot of cash. I mean, in my industry, I still deal with cash. So like 90% of my purchases are untraceable.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So
it's not 100% illusion. It's mostly illusion. And
yeah,
if you think about it as a harvesting system, the point of the illusion of money is that it keeps expanding, and they want the Earth's population to outgrow the carrying capacity of the physical resources themselves. Yeah. So you eventually get to this point that we seem to be close to now, which is it starts getting too big for its britches, and it begins to collapse.
Yeah.
But as far as banks, they are required to keep 10% in holdings of so-called real wealth. But again, being that it's mostly electronic now, it can only be so-called real wealth if it has a tie to something that was tangibly created. So if it's just a loan that was given and then that goes and does a bunch of other trading with like making money type mechanisms, and it has no tie into something that could be deemed of like physical value, or it makes it highly what do you call it? It's like it's imaginary. It's highly imaginary for the most part. If they give you a loan for $5,000, right, and you're out there holding a real job and you're paying the loan off, half of that loan situation is producing real value. The half that you're doing, the half that you're working, but still, the half that was pulled out of thin air is not represented by anything. So half of our entire economy, just off of that one fact of giving loans, is completely and entirely fake.
Yeah.
The half that you're doing is real, but the other half isn't. And the other half is, the problem is the other half is sitting inside of the banking system, and it looks exactly the same as your half does. So it looks like $5,000. Your half looks like $5,000, but they're not the same thing. They're not represented by the same thing.
Yeah. And it locks people into an indentured slavery system. Because I got friends of mine that are like, 20s, 30s, 40s, and they're just getting into their first home, and then all of a sudden you got an $850,000 mortgage. And on top of that, so that was just for what they're paying for the house price. Right. And then you got the interest on top of that. So it's like, how do you think you're going to pay that off in a lifetime? Because most people, I mean, you live 60, 70, 80 years, you know what I mean? How are you going to pay that off in your lifetime? And I think what the end goal is, at some point, there's probably not even going to be any more property ownership. You know what I mean? I don't really think that it's sustainable the way it is right now. You got a lot of the baby boomers, that generation, where you were saying they did make their money, they paid for their house, all their bills are paid off. When they start dying off, I mean, our generation doesn't produce as many children as their generation did.
No, it's down to under 2 children per couple on average, and it was somewhere around like 3 to 4.
Yeah.
So our carrying capacity, or our producing a net gain as far as new children is not nearly what it used to be. But again, there is a physical carrying capacity of every landmass, and we may be near it, we may not, but you always see, if you look at other countries, they have to slow down the child birthing rate, otherwise they won't be able to support everybody. That's why China has so many restrictions on having children. You can only have like 1 or 2 per woman.
Yeah.
So part of it
too, even listening to like people, if you look at the old Bill Gates interviews where he's talking about eugenics and sterilization and stuff, and he's smiling about it, it's like, obviously there's an agenda. I mean, most people haven't researched Agenda 21, and it's like, okay, so what's the year right now? 2021. And it's like everything falls on point. If people want to be a sheep, I don't know. That's not a reality that I want to march myself willingly into. So it's kind of like I've just taken a lot of time to myself to try to produce a different reality for myself and others around me, because I'm not going to be marched or forced into any type of scenario. I still want to have my free will. I still
Yeah.
want to have my choices. And I don't want to be parasited or farmed or harvested by anything. I don't think that's not why we're here. You know, and if people can't make a choice to make a viable change in their lives, and like you were saying, you got to do the self work. You got to do the inner work.
Yep.
You got to get rid of your insecurities. You got to get rid of your doubt. You got to get rid of your issues. You got to get rid of your. A lot of people push good people away because they got issues within themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I think it's time people unite collectively to try to create a viable change. But it's I'm all about revolution. I'm all about change. But it's like, where does that start? It starts with the individual. But I mean, look back in history. You get one individual, Martin Luther King. You get people like Malcolm X. You get people like John Lennon. And what's the end result if you're just one person trying to make a change? You know what I mean? It's like it never works out.
Well, you become a target.
Yeah.
That's how it always has happened. That's why I'm quiet, because I know everyone becomes targets. And I don't mean quiet like that I don't talk. I just mean like, if you're quiet internally and you're neutral for the most part, you can talk about this stuff without being a target.
Yeah.
If you get up in there and you're like, oh, I'm going to save the thing and I'm going to kill all the demons, that's an option, but you will become a target if you do that. And you know, it depends on what you're wanting to do. Like, I think if we go back to the idea of play as sort of like the fundamental moving nature of the universe, because you compare it to what you've been given as a child, it's always about achievement. It's always about structured, rational movements that have a tangible result, right? That's our economy. The economy itself is based off of that. And if you compare that to the idea of play, or like singing a song where the action itself is what it's not for something else, that's what I think is the most healthy way to treat the thing, because then also people that are trying to look at you and your plans and trying to target you, perhaps, they can't tell what you're doing because you don't even know what you're doing. You're not trying to like get to a certain endpoint, which again goes back to the idea of staying present. It's just like it's a way of learning to be where you're able to do the things that you need to do that require some forethought, some planning aspects, but you're doing it in a way that it's very quiet and it's not drawing a whole ton of attention to yourself.
Yeah. And I think, you know, demons are like everything else. There's good and there's bad. It's like everything collectively. Angels, whatever, people. I mean, there's good and bad in everything. You know what I mean? It goes back to the yin yang and the balance. So,
it's all balanced in general. Like, some people like to say, oh, the good guys are going to win. Oh, the bad guys are going to win.
Who's the good and the bad? Because eventually, even if the good guys win, it's like, you know, you still get back in that structure. It's like,
it does. One side doesn't win. There's always some. The only thing is that in this particular world or realm, it appears that it's weighted on the side of the parasitic looshing aspect.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Alan Watts has said, he says, it's something like 66.7% good and then 33% bad, because if you were just in this harmonious like utopia, you would get bored. You wouldn't be motivated to do anything. So there needs to be some dirty stuff, some shenanigans, you know, some mischievousness, but I feel like the balance in this particular place is weighted in the opposite direction. So for those of us that are empathetic and that actually love and care for each other, and we're not just like, oh, me, that provides our challenge directly and immediately, because our ratio is mostly good with a little bit of bad. We're in a place that's, as far as the control structure, is mostly bad with a little bit of good. So our goal is to tip the balances back to the ratio that's mostly good with a little bit of like shit around the edges.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of people are sitting around and they're waiting for like somebody else to do something, like maybe, waiting around for a savior or pray to something outside of their self or whatever. And it's just kind of like, if you can't learn how to go within and save yourself, you're literally screwed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're
You got to become your own savior. You got to become your own rock. I mean, you know as well as I do that we're already immortal. We're already eternal. Um, Energy never dies. It can just be transformed into other things. So it's like,
hmm
depending on our conscious choices, um, you know, you can either return as something more advanced, because I think when you leave the system, the only thing you can take with you is your experience. You
Yeah.
can't take your clothes, you can't take your hair, you can't take your house, you can't take anything else with you. When you leave this body shell, the only thing you can take with you is your experiences. And if you haven't had good experiences, you're going to come back and you're going to be recycled into the same thing. And if you make worse and worse choices, I mean, worst case scenario, you become recycled as like an oyster or a blade of grass or something, and you start back from square one. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and you already know, like nothing in this realm is solid. You can look at anything through a microscope, and everything's vibrating subatomic particles.
Yeah.
So it's like depending on the frequency, everything can be changed. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like nothing's really solid because it's all a hologram. It's all an illusion.
Right.
So
And then that like your thought structure gives mental solidity to things.
yeah,
It's more of a purely mental place than it is some sort of pseudo physical mental reality. It's mostly mental because you don't find that final. Just like scientists have said, oh, the atom is the tiniest thing. You know, how many times can I chop this thing up? Oh, the atom. But then they found out that no, the atom wasn't solid either. It's made of these quantum particles that blip in and out of existence. So like there is no solidity. It doesn't even exist. There's no final unit of solidity that everyone can say this is reality. Nobody knows what the fuck reality is. It's composed of infinite fractals both ways, like up and down.
yeah,
So in the end, it's a vastly intricate illusion that is fit very well together and is pleasing. It is pleasing if you look at it to see the beauty of it, and also because it's a dualistic realm, the bad stuff is really fucking bad. Like it's genuinely bad. It's not like, oh, that's your fairy tale of the god and the devil. No, like the god devil story is also real, and there's a really like benevolent deity and probably a bunch of them, and then there's a really really shitty bad guy.
yeah.
People are like
And you,
scared to realize that that's how it actually is.
yeah,
It's as real as it is fake. It's both.
yeah. And that's the difference. I think God or the realization within, it's like, it's the difference between a creator and a not creator. Because I think that God can create, but I think the devil can only imitate. So at
Uh-huh.
best, it's, you know, um,
The devil
people
probably
don't,
created an entire universe, or the bad guy. He probably created a synthetic AI universe, which we appear to be stuck directly inside of, which is why it's weighted in the more bad than good type of
yeah,
scenario. But if you allow yourself to not be scared of fucking everything, then you can see it as, oh my god, this is amazing. This entity literally tried to copy creation down to the very last quark and quantum bit, and there's not very much love here because I can feel it. There's not that much love here, and this is a weird fucking situation. And what do I do with it? Like if you can get past the fear thing, then you can actually play in any scenario. Like even if you're chained up and someone's about to torture you, like you're alive. You're fucking alive, and something's gonna happen. And if someone's trying to torture you, you're able to fucking get back at them. Like you're able to use whatever you have at your disposal to fuck them too. Like that's part of the
yeah.
game.
Oh, 100%. It's, I was lucky enough, because I've always been self-aware, so I've always had memories of past lifetimes, and there was always a similar theme where a lot of the times my life would get cut short for being the nail that sticks out, and, you get the hammer, and, like you said, you get targeted or whatever, right? So
Yep.
I spent a lot of time just doing the inner work, so going through, like, working out things about my personality, my character flaws, how I view things. But the one thing that's kept me going is I have something called unconditional love in my heart. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, regardless, that doesn't mean I'm going to go ahead and love. I mean, I'm not going to love a child molester. I think they should all be wiped right off the face of the planet. You know what I mean? I don't think
Uh-huh.
there should be one of them left. And I don't think there's rehabilitation in that scenario or that case. I think they should all be wiped right out. Maybe they can do better next lifetime. But Yeah, I think it's up to the individual to do that inner work, and that's so important right now because that's going to depend on what timeline scenario you're experiencing. And even when someone dies, it's like, do you think that person that dies, do they even know that they're dead?
I don't
Because
think
I
so.
think in some way their life carries on. They don't even realize they're dead.
Well, how could you? Like, and depending on what you're
Well,
defining as dead, like, okay, I'm dead. So none of my sensory apparatus is working anymore. So who the hell knows that they're dead? Like, the whole thing is ridiculous immediately. If anything, maybe you have a rest or a stasis where your soul gets to rehab itself a little bit. But, like, I had this conversation with my brother a long time ago, and that was that when the spark becomes aware of itself, it's game over at that point. There's no, like, going back to unawareness. And why is that? That is because if you go back to unawareness, you don't know. Like, you can't know that you're unaware. So once the spark is going, and then say you go to unawareness for 1 billion years, you don't know you're alive there. Okay, so when the 1 billion years is up and the spark reestablishes itself, to you it's one continuous thing. So there's only, once life starts, there's only life, literally
yeah.
forever. It's just it changes form.
Well, it goes back to that. In the beginning, there was light. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's that first set of self-awareness and coming out of that darkness. It's almost like a rebirth. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
and it can't really truly be like broken down. That's actually the fail safe inside of it, because scientists would like to get in there and like describe what's happening and say this is how quantum mechanics works, this is how the physical reality works, and they're not actually ever touching it with any of the formulas. They're not touching it because there's nothing to touch. Like, there is not a base physical unit that they're actually touching. It's somehow thoughts interacting with other thoughts. When you talk about a particle in quantum mechanics, you're saying words.
yeah,
That thing that you're trying to describe is not touched at all by the words. It's
yeah,
just a mental trying to understand like how this shit all works.
yeah. And even with unified conscious field or quantum entanglement, I mean that's a very real thing. If you align yourself with others at, say, a lower vibration, you have a very hard time breaking out of that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's, as you were talking about, the veil's being lifted right now. So it's, I spend a lot of time just with, like, I'm so careful about who I associate with right now. I'm careful with the energies I put around. I try to be conscious with my temperament, although sometimes, you know, I still have those variables in my in my own experience too. You know
We
what I
get we
mean? I
get
mean, none of
mad.
us
I
are
mean,
perfect.
I get mad.
So
It's fine to like experience emotions because that's what we are. We're volatile beings that are stuck in fucking duality. So there's
yeah,
constantly a pull this way, a pull that way. And then eventually you realize, oh, I want some peace and quiet. I want to find like if there's any solitude in the midst of all this chaos. And then you find it. But at the same time, you can be, that's the in this world but not of it idea. That's the actual idea of it, is that you're here, you're feeling things, you're experiencing things, you're at your 0 point, but you kind of free yourself up to be able to play, to allow yourself to get angry when there's an actual reason for it, to get angry at the parasites trying to fuck everybody over. There's no problem with doing that. Like, that's part of the game as well.
yeah,
It's good in a sense to like righteous anger in some circumstances. Not only is it good, but it provides you with the personal power to be able to interact with these beings who are trying to take more than their fair share. It's
yeah.
good.
And it's true. It's nature or the organic always seems to have a natural balance to it. And like even with Mother Nature, it's like, okay, so we end up cutting down all the trees and what? Well, all of a sudden maybe a big flood happens out of the sky and maybe a big wave comes in and wipes out that society. It's like even along the shoreline, every shoreline, if you look out far enough, has a society or the remains of a society, the bones, if you look out far enough. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we all think that things are going to stay the same forever, but really the only consistent is change. And I mean,
Right.
without change and growth, I mean, if you're not growing, you're staying the same. And if you're staying the same, you're not evolving, you're getting stagnant. And if you're not growing, you're dying. It's like what happens to a rooting system once it stops growing? It starts to shrivel up and decay, and all of a sudden the whole plant closes up, and then the plant dies. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like, always creating those, even with the neuroconnectors in the brain, if we get caught in certain trains of thoughts, our brain waves only go in certain patterns if we get ingrained in those certain trains of thoughts. But if you can break out of that, you can still build new neuroconnectors, and you can, create different neuroconnectors and create a different reality. So that's, that'll become more apparent, I think, in the next few years. So
there has to be the period of sort of destruction, and it's metaphorically destruction of people's identity and what they've been glomming onto this entire time. But at the same time, it's going to be physical, because this whole physical realm is rearranging itself, as you can see. But there has to be that period of sort of destruction before rebirth can happen. But I think if people can remember that it's not just, oh God, the thing's exploding and I'm gonna die and whatever. Like, just remember, everything's always changing, and probably whatever you think is gonna happen as a result of all this probably is not what's actually gonna happen. You may have some vague idea, but unless your mind literally is telling you about all the factions that are doing everything everywhere, all the planners, all the everything, up above, down below, if you don't have direct access to that, then you really don't know what the fuck is gonna happen. You can only take care of your own self.
100% true.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think we're coming up on about 45 minutes. I think that's pretty good for the first segment.
Okay.
Again, to access the second half, it's patreon.com/snailshow. $6 a month, you get access to every single second half of this whole 52 show series that I'm doing.
Okay. Do you want to send me a link for that too then, or?
No, I'll send you the link. If you're interested in getting in on that, I'll send you the link for that also. But as far as this show is concerned, we're just going to take like a 5-minute break, and I'll come back and start another Zoom session for the back half.
Okay.
So if you need to
get
a drink of water or use the restroom or whatever, you can take a little break right now.
Okay. Sounds good, bro.
Cool. See you in a bit.
See you in a bit.